Okay, I am going to go ahead and begin the meeting this morning. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming today. Let me turn on some extra light so we have a little bit of something. Not that quite that much. Savannah's like, oh, coffee. All right. So a couple things I want to hit this morning, and then we're going to have a mastermind led by Jana Seal, Realtor extraordinaire, shortly. You like that introduction?
Please do not build that up.
Morning, Angela. Okay. Rachel Bass respectfully asks everyone that all transaction information go through email to her instead of Slack. She doesn't check Slack all the time, and we need a paper trail for when you send something transactional or questioning the transaction or whatever. We just need it to be through our email so she can categorize it and log it, as opposed to in Slack, it's going to disappear in 30 days, 60 days. So anything transactional, of course, if you need, hey, Rachel, did you get my check? Can you send me a check? That's completely fine through Slack. But if you're asking for a paycheck or sending something that is, transactional with your listing or your buyer, please use email, and hers is just rachel@sixthhomes.com. Safety class is tomorrow, or it's Thursday. Today's Wednesday, right? Tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So if you have not signed up and you want to go shoot guns with us at Defender Outdoors, you can bring your own gun. Please bring it unloaded safely, but you are welcome to come with us. At the top of Slack, there is the Realtor Safety class sign up. You have to sign up just so we know how many people are coming. Right now, I've got 8 people coming. Let me double check that number because I haven't looked at it today. But if you want to come, it's 1 hour of CE. So what we're going to do is we're going to split the class up if we have to. We may not have to with only 8 people. I was expecting close to 12 or 15. And we were going to split it up into 2. There'd be 1 hour of CE instruction with an instructor while the other half shoots, and then we would switch. But it's not there, so we may just do it all in one swoop.
This is defensive, like for just in general, or as a real estate agent?
It's a realtor CE. Okay,
Yeah, both.
It's not target practice. I'm not going to run across in front of you and let you shoot at me. It's not that.
But like, what are we shooting at? Like,
Have you never been to an indoor gun range?
oh yeah, a lot.
That's what this is.
Okay.
It's an indoor gun range.
Okay.
And they've got a gun store that you can go into, and then they've got a shooting area in the back, and it's just lanes, and they will have guns there. You can buy ammunition and you can shoot. So the Baker firm is putting this on. Maddie will be there with us at 11 o'clock. So
the Baker firm buying ammo?
I don't think so,
Okay.
but I don't know for a fact because I didn't get any details.
That'd be cool.
It's on that calendar invite. What does it say right there? You don't have this one. Hang on.
I got it.
I've got a PNG here that Maddie sent me.
Yeah, it doesn't say very much.
As an agent here, let me put this up here. Oh, you guys can't see it. Let me
Situational awareness.
Yeah. let me present that. Let me see if I can present it.
It's not a big deal. It's not like that.
Well, nope. Well, let me do it. Okay, so it says, as an agent, it is important to always be aware of your surroundings while out in the field. Learn simple steps to avoid potentially dangerous situations and help keep you and your clients properly safe. Course covers 4 case studies of agents who were killed while doing their job. It will help agents have a better situational awareness and avoid placing themselves in dangerous situations. Our instructor will be Matt Tilley. So that's what the Realtor Safety class is. 11 o'clock tomorrow, 11 to 1 is what it's scheduled for. Okay. And I do still have 8 people signed up. So if you want to sign up, please do so today before 5 o'clock so I can let Maddie know how many people come in. We'll have to turn that form off at 5 o'clock today. And you won't hear me crap about it anymore. I'm sorry. Because I've been pounding on it forever. All right. Next Wednesday, our illustrious leader, Jimmy, is going to give his personal safety tips in this 10 o'clock hour. Good morning, Greg. So, well, It's not gonna be fancy?
No, nothing fancy. Mine is about practical advice. It's probably like, this is what actually works and what actually doesn't work.
Okay. Well, that's practical advice. That's what we need. So, and then that will conclude our September safety month with stuff. And then we're going to start some new stuff in October. Have some more vendors coming in for the 10 o'clock meeting. Probably for just like a donut coffee thing at like at 9:45. So I'll put that on the calendar when I get those booked. Next Thursday is our town hall, and we have decided fully that we are going to Cidercade. Yeah. If you've never been to Cidercade, it is every video game that you played when you were a kid, the actual machine. They don't sell beer and wine. They sell cider, and it's alcoholic cider. It's good. It's tasty. Located very close to TCU over that side, and that will be at 11:30 next Thursday. I'll put the link to where we're going to be in the email coming out Sunday night. So it'll be there for you guys to see, but it's 11:30 to probably 1 o'clock. And we'll just do our thing like we normally do at a town hall. They've got like a little meeting area in the center of the thing. And then we'll have pizza, and you'll be on your own for cider, but we'll provide pizza when we get there at 11 o'clock, 11:30 next Thursday. If anybody is interested in a Starbucks bulk discount, Starbucks cards, let me know and I'll send you the link. But they're selling them in bulk. What they do is if you buy like 200 cards, then they give you 5% off of all of them. So, but it's $5 a card, so it's like $1,000, but then you save 5%. If you want that link, I do it once every other year or so, and I buy like 1,500 at a time, $1,500 worth, 300 cards. But that's what I send out for birthdays and stuff. That's just so I can buy you a cup of coffee somewhere. We were talking about that yesterday. Broker Corner, new segment, Broker Corner. So we have a new thing that I'm going to start doing when there's important information that you need to know. Trek licenses that expire will go inactive immediately starting October the 1st. So yesterday I got 2 emails because there were agents with the halo right here.
Yeah.
So I get a notification and you get a notification when your license will expire in 3 months. So I got a notification yesterday for licenses that expire at the end of December. You have to reactivate, do your classes and apply for the license before your deadline. Because if you wait until the week of and the systems go down like they did last month with Paragon, what's the name of that MLS stuff that went bad? Rapatoni.
Yeah.
Rapatoni went bad, which is why Member Services was shut down at Greater Fort Worth and Metrotex and most of the MLSs across the state of Texas and across the nation. Rapatoni got hacked, and so they didn't have access to renew somebody's license at Trek. And so it's better if you get this stuff done at least 30 days in advance, 21 minimum. Get your license renewed, because once it goes to expire, it becomes inactive. Then you have to go through a process. And I'm going to show you the process because it's fun. I think that's the one. Let me double check. Yep, that's the one. Okay, so let me cast this. Okay, so this is the procedure from Trek, from what they say. This is for me, you, and inspector licenses. So at 90 days, you get a notification that you've got 90 days to get your license renewed. If you receive that notice and do nothing about it, then you're on your expiration date. Then you will submit your renewal application after the license expiration date, pays the late renewal fee. CE is not required to renew the inactive if it cannot engage in real estate activity with an inactive license. His license is inactive. He must complete all necessary CE, come back to us. We have to re-invite you through Trek, because if it expires, what used to happen was it just expired and then you didn't lose your place at the brokerage. This changes October the 1st. You will lose your place at the brokerage, and then we have to re-invite you. Then you have to go back through the MLS. You have to go back through all that process that Joanna just went through this week.
Oh my gosh.
So let's not have anybody's license go to expired. If you're going to stay an agent, please keep it active. Another thing that I wanted to remind you guys is if you don't pay your MLS dues, One person not paying their dues to the brokerage shuts everybody down in MLS.
Wait, what? Say that
If
again?
one person doesn't pay their dues to the Realtor Association that you belong to, most of us are Greater Fort Worth, but some people have split dues between Metro Tex and Greater Fort Worth. If you don't pay your MLS dues and you are the culprit, it shuts the entire brokerage out of MLS.
Is that every brokerage or just our
Ours.
brokerage? That needs to be fixed.
That's the way it's always been. If one person at the
So if
brokerage,
she doesn't pay hers, I can't get into MLS. I have a
Correct.
big problem.
that's the way it works.
Here.
It always has worked like that.
I think across the board, but like, right, all brokerages, like would be.
All brokerages.
Yeah.
Keller Williams that has 600,
If they don't pay their dues, they can shut the entire brokerage down.
They can, they typically don't.
thank
They
you.
don't, it's like, it's never happened.
I'm like,
here.
my
It's happened to me
ability to
twice.
access it is
No,
dependent
don't freak
on
out,
you.
don't freak
I'm
out.
like, I'm out of
We have
it.
had, we've had like this happen like
Several
50,
times.
50 times.
Has it really?
Like, if people are like, oh, I forgot to pay my dues, they don't shut our brokerage down.
Okay.
They did me.
Yeah, they will if you have like repeat occurrences, but you just call if you have to, you just call them and be like, hey, here's the deal, here's the situation. And then we will, me and Brian will either cut that agent off for a time until they pay it, so our brokerage is not affected. So
Okay.
it is never
I was
once,
having like
it is never,
conversations.
it's always
I
been
got
that,
some
it's never actually,
Okay, so
never actually truly affected anybody. Is it?
it never has y'all.
No, ever.
Okay, because when I
And
went
if it
to
does, I'll solve it that day.
that's what happened. That's what I did.
Solve that.
You'll
When it
go in
happened
the
to
pay.
New Stream.
So don't worry about it, Jen.
Yeah, don't have to file petition for free.
Don't worry about it.
What I went to do that week is when I went to go show a house
Don't worry about it.
and one of the agents didn't pay their dues, I had to call the Realtor Association and pay her dues for her. Just so I can have MLS access.
Either that or you have to cut them off with sponsorship.
Yeah.
You suspend or pin their license so you don't cut them off.
Okay.
And it's just, but literally you can call the person and be like, hey, can you pay your dues today?
Yeah.
And call them and then they'll be like, all right, cool. And it's not,
The reason,
literally it's a 0.5 out of 10 of an issue.
but the reason that I'm saying that is because we're talking about inactive licenses. Pay your MLS dues.
Yeah, I know.
That was the whole point of my conversation.
Yeah.
Okay?
Just
So-
want to pay it.
All right. Very good. Let me stop casting that. Didn't mean to cause a hubbub and cause you heart palpitations.
Just so we're clear, my license didn't expire. He was just talking about me transferring your
Yeah,
pay number. So
yeah.
I'm very good on paying all of my things.
I'm never dramatic.
She's like, I don't know you better be paying your stuff.
That would be good.
Let me see if this is the one I wanted to share. Hang on. So there is a pay, I'm going to put this in my follow-up recap in Slack here in a little while, but I've got a link to from Trek's website of what happens if your license goes inactive. That way you can see it. If we all just renew when we're supposed to, it will be fine. Nobody will have a problem. As long as everybody pays their MLS dues, we have no problem. Just kind of saying that that's the broker corner of, hey, we need to get this stuff done. These are the basics of what we do. All right. Number two, we are going to watch a short video on realtor safety, one more video, and then we'll have one video next week. And then Jimmy will do his presentation, which I'm looking forward to sitting back and watching that. Let me cast. Well, Jimmy has great stories.
Oh, does he?
I don't know if I can share those.
You can share one or two, one at least, man.
I shared one story.
Go ahead.
Kayla, our principal designer, she was like, Jimmy, she's like, I had nightmares all that time about your story that you were sharing. And I'm like, okay, I need to tone these down a little bit. You know? Like, oh,
I can't watch scary movies.
Yeah.
I can't do horror. I can't do any.
Okay, this is a 6-minute video, the true nature of crimes against realtors. So we're going to watch this, and then we'll move on with our meeting.
Member safety is a matter of your life or your death.
I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd be in a situation to where I would have a 9mm held to my head.
It was a day like any other when James Olson, an agent with more than 35 years' experience, set out to meet a blind lead at a vacant property. Something he had done countless times before.
I was actually with my wife on the way to an appointment. I had never met this person, and she was sitting on the front porch waiting for me, and I just told my wife to wait in the car. We walked through the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen. And I've been in this property a number of times, and it just seemed odd to me that all the doors were closed. So I went to grab the bedroom door, and out came a masked gunman holding a 9mm to my head. He was all dressed in black like a ninja. He had a hoodie on, sunglasses, face mask, black gloves, black everything. Within a couple seconds, another guy dressed the same held a 9mm up against the side of my head. I had my hands up in the air, and he said, "Get down to the floor." So I took his gun, and he hit me in the back of the head. I went falling to my knees. Blood was flowing in my eyes. They're asking me where the money is, and I told them I didn't have any, so they rifled my pockets and pulled my pants down and socks and shoes off, and they wound up making away with my wedding ring, my wallet, and my iPhone. And he came back to me and said, "Give us 10 minutes or we're coming back here and killing you. These guys are out there, and if they attack me, more than likely they're going to be going after somebody else." This was a predatory assault. They didn't just randomly pick me, they stalked me.
Jim Olson was surveilled and targeted based on his job as collecting rents as a property manager. They knew what day to lure him into the property that was vacant so he could be robbed at gunpoint. Studies have shown that agent male victims were attacked 30% of the time. And we know with Jim Olson, and he's a big burly man, infantry soldier, never was in fear that something could happen, and he was a victim of a violent robbery. And now, listen to his story, he changes the way he does business. He arrives at a home much earlier than the appointment time and does a circumference of the house to see if there's anything out of place or if there's any broken windows or forced entry.
Kitty Wallace, a managing broker with almost 20 years' experience, has faced off with numerous predators.
One of my most recent experiences was from a gentleman who wanted to see a home. I have a practice that I have them meet me at the office for the first time. This particular gentleman didn't want to meet me at the office, so that did put a red flag up for me.
Working in a rural area with limited cell phone reception, Kitty remained steadfast in her safety protocols, but the caller had a plan of his own.
He was very insistent, and it was, "Can you meet me there in an hour?" And I said, "No, unfortunately, I can schedule an appointment with you. We can sit down and see what your needs are." No, I want to see this house." And he said, "Okay, then meet me in 2 hours." He just kind of kept moving the time frame for me. And when that escalated and he wouldn't meet me, he ended up calling my office. He was swearing at me saying that, "That's my job. I need to meet him here. What is my seller going to do when he finds out I won't show him this property, etc." And I just didn't let myself get bullied. I really stood my ground and didn't meet with him at all. I've always kind of just accepted it's part of the job, and that's really not okay. So I reported it to my local association, and they sent an email blast to all the agents. 2 other agents reached out to me, and they had also been approached by this gentleman. Maybe I prevented something bad happening not only to myself, but maybe somebody else as well. I do believe that the intent of some clients is not to buy a house. The intent is to see what they could do if they got me a loan.
Jim and Kitty's harrowing stories display the 2 types of predatory motives: profit and power and control.
There is a misconception that crimes against agents are random opportunistic street crime, and in fact, they're of predatory nature. And by understanding predatory behavior and learning that you can remove weakness, subservience, and vulnerability out of your daily practice, you'll be able to keep yourself safe.
I think realtor safety is one of the most important things that any realtor can learn about.
The goal of the Realtor Safety Program is to reduce the number of incidents in our industry so this way you can come home to your family every night You deserve it, and they deserve it.
I think having these protocols in place is definitely the key to saving my life. 99.9% of the time, our job is amazing. It's that 0.01% that's not worth my life.
Okay, so interesting stuff, huh? I know that, we all feel safe at times and we do our job on a very routine basis, but these are things that I think that we all should be paying attention to. I thought one of the big takeaways from that was that Kitty lady saying that, she always meets at an office first. And if you're not coming to the office, at least meet them at a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts or someplace where you can get a driver's license and say, hey, this is standard procedure that I do this. We talked last week about the red flag that we're waving if we need it, which is if you call me or Jimmy and you say, hey, can you get the red file, blue file, yellow file off my desk and get me some information for that? That's our red flag that there's a problem. We're going to help you in whatever way we can, probably calling your spouse or your significant other, mom, dad, brother, whoever's in your emergency contact. That's why we ask for that information. If you haven't filled that out, I'll leave another link in the in Slack today for that. But that's why we're asking for that, because you just never know. And better safe than sorry. So that is that part of our meeting. I'm going to go over our core value, which is going to lead us into Jana today. So core value is we position our clients as the heroes and strive to add value as their guides. Our job is to serve our clients and ultimately do what is in their best interest. Our interests are secondary to theirs, and we communicate in a way that places their needs and wants at the center. At the same time, we are always looking for ways to make someone's experience better and constantly add more value. We are never content with where we are at from a value perspective, but working to increasingly add to what we can offer and wow our clients. My takeaway, if our clients and their interests aren't our focus, we're not doing our fiduciary duty to them. Quite often we have to spin info between our clients and another agent, and we never know who the other agent is and how good they are. And so now I'm going to ask Jana to speak into that because she spoke into it yesterday and it was such great information that we wanted to share it with you. Jana Seal.
Yes. So I think what brought the topic up is we were talking about how our contracts are terminating easier right now. I mean, has anyone else experienced that? I hope I'm not the Lone Ranger out there, but yet again, I kind of wish I am. Because nobody wants to get that email that says we're terminating. And my question is, what impact do you believe as an agent you have on holding those contracts together? Like having it make it all the way to the finish line. Do you feel like you have bearing on that? Do you feel like it's kind of, out of your control? Just your thoughts.
I think we do, for sure. It's the dialogue that we have with not only our clients, but other agents on the other end, and working together to find a solution. So.
And sometimes it can be extremely challenging because even that other agent is beyond your control, right? I mean, have you ever found yourself in that situation where you're just like, what on earth? And I can just kind of talk from both a buyer's agency position and a listing agency position. I feel like from the market that we came through, I feel like the listing agents had all the control. They were holding the heavy hammer. And we just, as buyer's agents, had to go. But I don't want to present it in such a way like that, because I think professionalism, good character, and great communication takes you so much further than what we really give it credit for. We want to kind of try to, I have done everything from putting a video out there to the listing agent to introduce myself so they can put a face with a name, anything I can do to open up that communication. But on the buy side scenario that I just had, I had an agent across from me, and I've made it my habit to size up that agent as quickly as I can. And by sizing him up, what I'm talking about is, am I leading this in this transaction? Are they going to be leaning on me? Or are we peers? Do we mutually have things to contribute to making it successful? Or am I learning? Is this person really, really sharp? And do I need to have my ears open and be paying attention to how we're going to proceed? And so I want to size that up real quick. And we do that a lot of different ways. Don't judge a book by the cover, because some young agents they've got their game together and they are sharp. And so sometimes I will look at their license number and be like, oh, and I'm like, I got to quit that, because it really doesn't matter. It can, but for the most part, you want to open up communication and talk to them and set some healthy expectations up front. Because my case in point is, I'm buyer's agent in the co-broke. She's been in business 30 years. And it has been the most challenging transaction to hold together. As a matter of fact, my buyer would have walked had he not been motivated to buy that property, just on the sheer fact that she was not performing in the timelines. Have you ever had a situation where your option period is coming to an end and you have to put it out there that you're going to terminate just because they're not responding, just because they're not performing? Don't be that agent. Perform. Do what you need to do to hold the contract. I feel like now more than ever, we need our contracts to hold. And we have a huge role in that. And sometimes it means extending the option period one more day so that everybody feels comfortable in making wise choices. We don't want to strong arm or force somebody into a situation, but in the same token, we don't want to leave ourselves open to a falling out. And there was so many places along the way with this transaction that I'm working on right now, and there have been many in the past year. This was just right on the front of my mind, where I couldn't, the other thing is shield your client from all that's going on. Like, they don't need to see if somebody's not performing. They don't need to know. Sometimes our pride and our ego want to go, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what's going on over here. Don't do that. That's discouraging. And we need to, it does not help your position at all. You don't want your client getting sideways because they've done this or that. And it got to the point where I couldn't shield them. Like, they could see what was going on. And they were getting rifled. And so then it became damage control with my client and communicating with them, reminding them of the goal. I've equated it to having a baby. It's painful right now, but we're going to push this baby out. We're going to hold it in your arms. You're going to love it. You're going to forget all about the pain. Whatever it takes to kind of keep them focused on moving forward. These are things we can't control. But with that, setting those healthy expectations, remaining humble and patient, putting on your character, and making sure that you're communicating and doing all that you can to perform on the contract. On the list side, for me, I lost a contract on Danbury. They canceled, right at the very beginning, and it was because there were, repairs that needed to be done. They said there was just too much to do. Well, we had already done a lot. So the unhealthy expectation for that buyer was the fact that she's buying a 30-year-old home and there are going to be things. And so I made up my mind to set a healthier expectation when we get back on the market with the next buyer, and really talk to that agent about, this is a 30-year-old home. There's probably going to be some things that come up on the inspection report. I don't know what they're going to be, because I don't want to know unless we're staying in contract. Otherwise, I have to disclose all of that. What I do know is we had a rodent infestation in the attic. That's not an uncommon thing in a house. We're getting it fixed. But I just want you to know, and for you to set healthy expectations with your client, that whatever we encounter, we will participate in fair negotiations. If something is not performing as intended or functioning as intended, we will definitely consider the repair. And so setting that and communicating that up front, and it also kind of takes the angst and the concern and the worry down. between communications with you and the agent on the other side, opening that up. She was very like, oh, good, I'm glad you said that. And she's pretty new. I mean, she had an 076 number, so yeah, that's pretty
What's
new.
yours? Gracie, what's your number?
7-8.
And
What's that
so, you know, I just look at that like I can coach. I can do some coaching here, and I might need to tell her the verbiage that she needs to use in discussing issues with her clients too. I mean, that's really important. We should all want the same thing. And from your position, Gracie, coming into it, it's okay to say, Milda, you know what, I'm getting started in my business. I know that, you know, there's probably a lot of things that I'm going to get to learn in this transaction. I just want you to feel open and, you know, to communicate with me, because we all want the same thing. And when we come from a place of contribution and we come from a place of 360-degree leadership, like I not only want my clients for life, but I want you to have your clients for life. I'm not here trying to steal your client. I'm here trying to make it work great for everybody that's at the table. And agents are very pivotal in making that happen. When we let our ego go aside and our pride go aside, and we take on that fiduciary responsibility, and we put others ahead of ourselves and serve them. That's actually one of the laws of compensation. You know, you are compensated based on how many people you serve. Serve more people, your compensation will go up. Look at that, at the entire, you know, everybody that's at the table, everybody that's in the contract, and serve them well. And so open lines, guard your clients, set the timing up front. These are all things you can do. Figure out what your role is. Are you learning? Are you leading? Or are you side by side with somebody? And so, and just be, you know, ready to assume that role as you work through the contract. Some things are out of your control, but for the most part, there should be a agreement between parties that says, let's be professionals and let's hold this together. We have a buyer that wants to buy and a seller that wants to sell. So let's take that role seriously and working it all the way through to completion. Whatever we can do now, you know. That's pretty much where I sit with it. And I will tell you too, that it has, professionalism goes a long way, because I've actually had a situation where I had to do the other agent's job because they just chose not to do their job. And I was the listing agent and he brought the buyer. He earned 3%. It was the biggest paycheck I've ever begrudgingly allocated out from a brokerage, because he did nothing, didn't respond on time. I had his client's phone number by the time before we're out of option period, communicating with her myself. You know who she hired, but she wanted to sell the house? Me. So that's the reason why we do 360-degree leadership. That's why we play nicely in the sandbox. That's why we treat others with respect, figure out our role, because when we're serving, we're bringing that value proposition to the table. So hope that helps.
Yeah, I love that. I would like to speak on that as a newer agent. I had a situation early on where I made a mistake. We were under contract. I was representing the buyer, and I accidentally put in the additional earnest money without meaning to. And so we got to the point in the contract where that was due. Didn't pay it because I didn't know. And the listing agent was super experienced, and he had looked me up and, you know, knew I was newer, but he offered me so much grace, and we talked through it, and it just meant the world to me, because he obviously could have terminated. He probably didn't have any other offers, so that's why he didn't. But, you know, he could have been an asshole about it, and he wasn't. He was like, look, we've all been new. These things happen. This is a learning experience for you. And it was. And I was so distraught about it, but like his attitude really helped me get through it. And then later down the road, I had a listing and the same agent submitted an offer. Granted, it was the highest and best offer we had gotten, and we accepted it. But I always remembered that, oh, this guy like did me a solid. And so like, it was great to kind of repay that. And then on this past listing I was working with a newer agent, and we were in option period, and I find out we're under, his buyer is contingent. Never submitted the contingency document and stuff. And so I remembered that situation where someone gave me grace and helped me. And so then I helped pay that forward as well. And it felt really good to like choose that path because of what I had experienced. And I'm sure you know, he was really grateful to and stuff. So I like that going with that type of attitude and stuff really does matter in the long term and will help your career for the better.
And you know, I say that with a little bit of caution because there are sharks out there that just want to take you down. And that's why that communication up front is important. You're gonna be able to size people up. I've done the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and then after that, the midst of the contingency, that did tell me like, okay, I'm going to stay on top of both sides a little more. And it made me more aware, which was great because had that not have happened, maybe I wouldn't have been as aware and something else could have fallen through. So, you know, it's kind of all like a blessing in disguise.
The bottom line is you got to know the motivation of your clients and what their position is and represent them. And you speak to them in terms of their options, but obviously with goodwill at heart, I think is always the best policy. So does anybody else have anything else that comes to mind?
I like it when, as a listing, because I'm primarily a listing agent, I like it when a newer agent comes to me and they say, hey, I've got an offer, but I'm kind of new, so if I miss something, let me know. You know, I'm willing to work on it, willing to fix it. But what turns me off when somebody is new is they come in and want to tell me how to do it. So it's, and I can live with it. It doesn't bother me to tell somebody, you know, blowing up, that's fine, but you're gonna have to prove it too.
Yeah.
But I much prefer a little bit of, what's the word?
Humble.
Humble.
Humility.
Yeah,
Yeah.
humility.
It's easy to get like in your ego, like my client, I want, you know, but it's.
That happened to me on my roof thing, my roof deal. But that agent has asked Tasha, I write to her about it because, you know, I have to keep my emotion out of the deal. But this agent has just been just not nice ever since we put the offer in. And I'm like, you have no other offers. Why are you being this way? But anyways, I'm gonna look her up, or I will look at their license number and see how many deals they've done and all that stuff because I do want to know who I'm working with as well. And anyway, she was just kind of just nasty the whole time, and like she's been like hounding me on things. I'm like, I got this, like not that way, but I'm like, I totally understand, but I got this, and that. She's okay. But when we were talking about financing days, because she knew that we were coming up on our financing days, she was like, well, I just wanted to check. And I'm like, look, I was like, you and me both. I said, because that's the buyer that I was super worried about their financing. I'm like, look, I've been calling the lender every day. I've been emailing the lender every day. I said, she's like, oh, really? She's like, okay. And then we were talking about closing day. And she's like, well, can we close before? And I'm like, really? Yeah. If we were to have to extend, we would have to do the. It's like she was questioning me at that point. She was like on me every step of the way, but then she was like, "Oh, but can we close the letter before?" I'm like, do you really know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Like you're trying to make me feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But
I think that pulling from that is, and we probably all either, if you haven't been in the situation, you will be at some point where the table will turn. So just make sure that you're setting the groundwork for that to happen in a way that doesn't bite you in the butt.
Yep.
You know, because we can say things and we typically could have the right to say, I have the right to say a lot of stuff on this gal that's been, you know, an agent for 30 years. I mean, she couldn't form a grammatically correct sentence to save her soul.
yeah,
And I could not, you could take that sentence 4 or 5 different ways. And I'm trying to clarify, and it just was nutty, and she had emojis all over the place on all of her text messages. And her favorite was the angel with the little halo. I'm like, girl, you know, so I mean, it was just very ironic. But then, you know, then I made a mistake and I went and met the insurance agent that needed to take pictures inside and outside of this vacant house. And I failed to make an appointment, even though it's vacant. And she called me out on it. And I'm like, you let us go out of auction? We were going to have to terminate? I'm like, you want to call me out on a vacant? Okay. My response was, I'm very sorry about that.
Yeah.
Because you're right. And to just take a step back and acknowledge the fact, because we're all going to make mistakes, and do the thing that needs to be done that's right for representation. So.
Yeah, it's like I always think it's like you have a fiduciary responsibility to represent your client, right? But then you have all this mess in between, and whenever you deal with an annoying realtor that's either incompetent, that is just mean. You know, they might be very competent, they just might be mean, they might not communicate well. They actually might be having a bad day too. They actually might hate their client.
Yeah.
You know, they might be having like, there's like 50 million reasons of why it gets messy.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, what do you want to do about it? Like, you want to close the deal? You want to keep it alive? And like to Janet's point, it's like the grace, the patience, that extendability of making sure that deal closes is kind of like, you're going to have to stretch more than you have in the past. Because like, if Brian listing agent like 2 years ago, it's like sitting there with all the power and you're like, I'll do whatever I want.
I've got 5 more
I
lined
got
up.
5 more lined up and I got 20 buyers making offers. So it's like, Brian doesn't have to work hard. He doesn't have any patience at that point. He can just sit there and be a jerk and he will still win. He would. He really would. And now, then again, the tables always turn. In the middle of the deal, they turn. In a grand scheme of things, they turn. Where now it's like, okay, the way you treat people in the middle of the deal, the way you treat people year 1 and now year 3, it always does turn. And I just think, especially now, it's like you're really having to demonstrate a lot more patience, a lot more of that, just like extending grace, just understanding, just assuming the best of somebody. I mean, that honestly is what keeps deals alive or kills them. And I mean, and then like doing people's jobs for them. I'm like, at this point, I'm just going to call their buyer's lender to verify this stuff. Like whenever I list anything, and granted, I don't list anything, buddy, but when I do, like what if I'm flipping a property, right? I'm like, I contact the agent. I'm like, great, who's your buyer's lender? And they're like, such and such bank. And I'm like, great. And I just call the bank. I don't even talk to them. I just go and verify their lending, that they're closed, because you get that through the title company. I call the title company on my own. That should be the buyer's agent that's doing that. That should be the buyer's agent, but I don't care. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I don't care what they're doing. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and just make sure this deal closes.
You have your protocol.
I don't have
You
my
follow.
pride. My pride is not like, well, you're not doing this. Did you check up on this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And if you come in there with, I want the deal to close, then you don't really care about what the other agent does. They're just a being that can do 0% of work or 100% of work. They can be really good or really bad, and it doesn't matter because your job is to get the deal closed for your client and for you. Like, that's it.
I had that happen. I got told I got overstepped my boundaries, and I'm like, no, I'm doing my due diligence. But I had it
It doesn't
listing,
matter.
and that's why I said I was like, I'm just doing my due diligence. I'm protecting my client. But I had a listing. We had a cash offer, and so I verified those funds. But he was contingent on that sale, on his sale, on a different one that had financing. So I followed the steps, and I called that listing or that buyer's agent. And I said, hey, tell me about your buyer's agent, because this is all a trickle down effect for my client. And my buyer's client called me, which he was joke too. He was a new agent. He was joke. But he was like, you overstepped your boundaries. I'm like, no, sir. I said, I'm doing my due diligence for my client, because if that doesn't go through, this doesn't go through. And I said, yeah. I'm like, no.
But you know what? You can just go, I'm sorry.
I did. I was like, I don't know what you
sorry.
want me to
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Next time, would you like me to go through you to verify this in the future?
Yeah.
And then who cares?
I did. And he was like, oh, no, we're good. And I'm like, are we good?
Yeah.
Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no,
make
I
you
wanted
feel
to
a certain
make
way.
and I'm like, I need to verify that for my, but anyways,
Yeah. To me, it's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That other agent on the other end, sometimes, again, like Janet said, they're like rock stars, and you're like, golly, I got to pick my game up.
Yeah.
They're like
Yeah,
rolling me up with, why didn't you? Why didn't you? I'm like, I didn't know I was supposed to. I'm like, I truly don't.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
do.
I'm like, well, I was like, I didn't know that. I had no idea.
yeah.
And so, but with the other times, and a lot of times, especially with like, most of the time, maybe it's not most of the time, maybe half, I don't know, but you'll get a bad one, and you just gotta literally they're just like this nuisance here, and you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to love you, extend a lot of grace, and basically work around you.
Yeah. The one I love the most
That's
is,
okay.
and no offense, guys, but the one I get the most is when I'm working with an older agent that's a gentleman.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I've been in the business for 40 years, and
You're
this is the way we
calling
do it.
me.
I'm sure he called me something, darling, because it was out in Grayson County, that was like, good old boy. And I'm like, I've done enough land deals. I know what I'm doing.
But again, they're doing that for their ego to feel better about
Mhm.
themselves. And
Yeah.
it's like, once you know that, it's easier for you to just,
Disregard it.
just like, okay, I feel sad for you.
That- that's
So I'm gonna
just-
be even nicer.
That's one of those,
You know?
that's one of those red lights going off when you hear, I've been in the business 30 years. When somebody says that,
It just kind of
Okay.
goes through. Does that mean that you don't have to follow the rules? Is that what we're saying?
Well,
That's what I'm receiving.
I've been in business 30 years doesn't mean that you've done 300 transactions. So it
No.
could mean that you've done 10.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what-
really, like you just, it's a side gig, you know?
And that's why I was saying I not only look at the license number, because honestly, I've been surprised with some of the newer agents that actually probably have done just as many deals as I have done, in the past couple, me personally in 2 years that they did in their first year. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't always mean it's a bad thing if they're a new agent, because they may have done a million deals. Like,
Yeah, I think, well, and in my first year, I did 30 transactions.
Yeah.
And
That's what I'm saying,
trust me,
yeah.
it was trip and stumble at the finish line
Yeah.
sometimes, but you learn, and there were a lot of great agents that gave grace throughout that process, good mentors, doing a lot of communication with my broker or my team leader, whatever. And I will say there are clues. Pay attention to the clues when you're sizing up the situation up front. Take the time. Just as you would take the time to consult with your client before you get to work, consult with the agent across the table. A couple of clues that were at me right up front on my buy side transaction was that they have 2 failed contracts already. And so I knew that it was going to be a difficult negotiation. Somebody or something was in the way. And she did have difficult. She had one very analytical brother. It was a trust, her mom was out of the picture, and one that was very, sure, yeah, whatever you say. And so her getting around, and it could have very well been the guy that was causing her to be late and causing her not to be timely. But she could have communicated that with me and just said, hey, I'm really struggling with this. Just bear with me. You just know we want this to work out too. And it would have been that honesty and that transparency goes a long way. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. But just to size up the situation
very good.
and be sharp.
Thank you guys for coming today to Mastermind. Next week, again, we'll have Jimmy doing a full presentation in full body armor. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, in uniform.
In uniform.
Uniform.
No.
Definitely not.
I'm-
Save that for Halloween.
Safety, if you want to do the safety series today at 5 o'clock, we did deadline. I'll take the form down tonight. So please do that. If you want to go shoot guns with us tomorrow. Other than that, I'll send you an email Sunday night. Thank you all for coming and have a great day. Thank you, Jana, for presenting today.
Sorry if I was prepared.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheree.
Bye.
Bye.
Sounds cool.
Good things to think about, that maybe we're like, not.
It's really